Hello and welcome to the UK Lebanon Tech Hub podcast. Today we have Cyriles Najjar, founder of White Your White, CEO of White Labs, and professor of Masters in Entrepreneurship at UCL. He's also the founder of Sensio, one of the companies in our Accelerator Batch 1. He's here to talk about innovation by design, and we're going to get into the details right now. So innovation by design, it's hard to understand. Is it the design driving the innovation, or is it the technological advancement driving the design?
Well, that's actually the reason why I use this word innovation by design is when you're ideating and you're trying to solve a problem, what you want is to actually bring a solution that generates its own innovations down the line. Now, a lot of problems might be solved with simple ways, so they don't need the whole design aspect of things. But some of these problems actually generate ecosystems that could be very interesting and start solving so much more than the initial problem.
So solving the problem is the root of the idea in and of itself. You don't come up with an idea out of nowhere. You say there's a problem and I'd like to solve it. How early should the design start?
A lot of people try to have ideas out of the blue, and this is why we were talking about design thinking today. And the way you tackle a problem is by trying to understand people around the problem and how you can actually extract from them where the real solution needs to be. As I was saying earlier, there's what people say, what people think, and what people feel. And these are very different things. And as we've been brought up to be polite and never say, we always say, oh, all is great, how are you? All is great. But in truth, people feel or think things that are radically different. And understanding a problem is understanding human beings, human behaviors. So an anthropologist will probably understand the problem better than a coder or a designer. So this is where we really try to extract the problem from the social setting that we're encountering.
So when you find the problem and you come up with a solution, whether it's hardware or software, how early do you start designing the outside, and or do you start with the outside and then do the inside? How does it work?
So yeah, we were talking about this, about prototyping, because it's a crucial part of product development. And funnily enough, product has become product in general. So it could be an application, it could be a service, it could be a product, a physical product. We add around this the word service design. The truth is, we don't start with neither the inside nor the outside of the product. We start with the problem. We start with the people, and we start to figure out if there is really a problem. And as soon as we do, because I have a background in design, and for me it's kind of necessary to be human-centered, we build a mock-up that is similar to a lifelike one-on-one model that we can give to people for them to test.
Okay.
And then I'll just be the dictator on the team so that they can actually fit all the electronics inside and make it work the way it's supposed to work. I think we've reached a time in technology where it's very easy to shrink down all sorts of technologies into a tiny little piece of equipment, and this is phenomenal.
Right. I would also argue, as you were saying, that today you have to make a beautiful product.
Absolutely.
It can't be ugly, and it won't sell if it is, which was one of the Apple's.
Yes, yes.
You stressed on the fact that they're not innovators, but they make products that hit the market hard.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this, about making products beautiful as well as?
They're not innovators, but they take innovations and bring them to market in an efficient, reliable, predictive way. Right. So what is phenomenal about this is, and I was talking about the Apple Watch, that grabbed 20% of the market share in a single quarter, of the wearable market share in a single quarter, which is phenomenal, because people knew they should expect something amazing, something beautiful, something that works consistently. So a lot of people said, the Apple Watch is something that's, pointless, it's a waste of time, but it disrupted so many other technologies all of a sudden. So Beautiful design is a good gateway for you to discover functionalities. You are seducing the user, you are seducing the consumer with something that in some cultures could be considered as negative, like in Nordic cultures will probably want less seductive design, or while in Italy, for instance, they look, for an extremely designed objects. But striking the right balance between beauty, simplicity, and functionality and smartness of design is where you want to, sit.
Interesting. Now, you discussed the relationship between wearables and marketing, giving examples such as Babolat and Pepsi, right? But it's getting a bit harder for brands because now marketing-oriented objects are being overtaken by everyday wearables. So how did that evolve?
I think it's called sitting on the shoulders of giants.
Okay.
And what you can do is use the thousands of people working at Apple as a team that works for you, and develop a simple application that fits seamlessly into their system and becomes the application that allows Pepsi to do their marketing. And there's, you need to be streamlined, you need to be slim and slender when you're innovating, because you can't spend $6 billion designing the new Apple Watch when you could just simply design an application that fits into the Apple Watch and uses the market shares they've got so fast. And this is the brilliant strategy of Apple, and that Google is using as well, and that Nokia and Microsoft didn't actually exploit all that well, unfortunately. Perhaps Microsoft much better than Nokia, but Nokia had a hard time there. Use whatever's there and use it to your own advantage. Make all these guys around the world work for you.
Right. So piggyback on the success of already very successful brands.
Absolutely.
Right. You touched on the topic of intellectual property and adding value through patents. Can you please expand on the topic?
I think the world needs defensible technologies, meaning that you're bringing innovation, true innovation, onto the market, and you're transforming electronics, software, algorithms, products. When you have a patent to your product, it means that people will be paying royalties if they want to use your patent. And if it is the case, I'll give you a very simple example. Every time you buy an Apple iPhone, you give money to Nokia, because Nokia has more than 30,000 patents, and they are generating billions every year out of these patents. And you can't, not have Bluetooth on your phone. You can't not have Wi-Fi. And these are patented technologies that you have to pay to use in a way or another. And this is how strategically patents, even if you don't have the right sales and marketing team, can still be a very beneficial growth factor for a startup. And not only this, it deters your competitors, because, for instance, in our product, we have a patent on detecting and qualifying particles in the air, right? So we're the first who are able to differentiate one mold particle from another. Anybody on Earth who's ever going to have to use it for the next 50 years is going to have to pay us for this. Right. It's just, and this is a huge competitive advantage, because any investor would want to invest in somebody who already has that. This is the whole point of a patent, really. It's the government is telling you, share with us your invention, tell us how it works. In exchange, we'll give you a protection for the next 5, 10, 20, or 50 years. But after that, we are going to be using it. It also helps the military, who are probably tapping into patents without ever asking you to. But it is a deal that you strike with governments, a patent.
Okay. Now talk about prototyping. Obviously making an object beautiful takes a lot of time, and it doesn't work on the first shot. You've been through a hell of a lot of prototyping.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you give us some pointers or some advice on how to approach this process?
Use a piece of paper.
Okay.
Use a piece of foam before you start going to the guy who does this in metal or aluminum. Try it with simple materials that you find lying down on the street, that you can pick up, prototype, and test.
Almost for free.
For free. It's not almost, it is for free. We're working now for a lighter, we're designing their new lighter, for instance. I was at a site and we found this blue foam and we cut up this foam and we tested the shape and size. We know this is the right size, and now we can move into 3D design, but prototype things in a simple way that gives you a first human. I advocate that the hands are so much smarter than the brain. The amount of information you get is simply incredible just by touching an object. I'll give you another example that's very funny. You know why dogs lick humans?
No.
Because they have such advanced sensors on their tongues that they understand so many things about the human. They identify him, the humidity level, the saltness level, the stress level, and this gives them so much data just from what nature has built into us. I mean, I'm not suggesting you'd lick a product. You could, but depend on the product. But the human body is such a complex and evolved mechanism and organism. Use it to understand if this product fits, works, or doesn't. And you get an instant feedback from your body if you like something or not. When you shut the door of a car, you know if this car is an expensive car or a cheap car. If it goes boink, you know it's probably a pew pew. And if it does almost no sound, but it's a heavy door, you know it's a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. And humans are trained to cut through all the fluff of product design. You know when you hold a table, if it's a sturdy table or if it's a flimsy table. Use that. And this is what prototyping is about. It's about trying things with your own hands.
And finally, one of the last points you touched on was making things smart and dashboards. So how and why?
So this is something we were talking about. It's with the Nike Plus example. What's amazing with the Nike Plus is that they were able to collect and gather data from all their users instantly, whilst before they were selling millions of products that would disappear into nature, and they wouldn't know if people were wearing these shoes, storing them, throwing them away. The whole communication between the vendor and the merchant and the client was just blocked. Now with these smart devices, these chips you're embedding into shoes, into watches, and tennis rackets and goggles, are giving user feedback. They're giving usage, frequency, location, and it's becoming such an intelligent feedback loop for the merchant or the manufacturer that he can actually iterate and improve his design, understanding better his target consumer. And on a marketing level, this is phenomenal. And I think it's the big transformation of the 21st century is the data analytics and data visualization that allow you to really grasp and understand the world of the products you're actually selling to. There's this amazing space at the Imperial College in London that is about 24 Samsung screens that you can stand in the middle of, and you can see a real time, for instance, the world of bitcoins and how transactions are being done online, or the metro in China and how people are coming in and out, and when there's a problem with a train, how traffic is rerouted. So you have insight into the world that you could not have before because you'd need 1,000 people to monitor, report, and assess. Now you can actually do this in real time thanks to technology, and it's going to profoundly transform the world we live in by optimizing it on a daily basis.
And I would add to that when you go into that kind of endeavors, it's very important to know what to measure before you get into it. So when you got to make a wearable or a sensor, you should know what kind of information you want to extract from that beforehand, so that data visualization becomes
and this is precisely what we're saying, is that this is why as a CEO you need to understand what kind of backend you need to understand code, because you need to understand whether it's an SQL, no SQL, what kind of query you want to do, what kind of data you're aggregating, is it data you know, is it data you don't know, and how is this going to fit into your model as to optimize your product marketing.
Thank you, Cyrille. Thank you very much for that. It was a pleasure having you over both for the talk and the interview, and of course we'll see you around.
Thank you very much.